In 1973, the Parbat Chattogram Janashanghati Samiti (PCJSS) was established under the leadership of Manobanjan Narayan Larma to advance certain demands for full autonomy and recognition of cultural and linguistic identity. Its armed wing, Shanti Bahini, trained in neighboring Tripura of India to further its cause and launched armed attacks in Bangladesh. Their first attack on convoy of Bangladesh Army occurred in 1977. Subsequently, Shanti Bahini targeted army personnel, police, government officers, employees, and Bengali settlers in the Chittagong Hill Tracts. The group also attacked local who opposed their activities or supported the government. Over the years, clashes between the army and Shanti Bahini led to significant casualties and displaced among both Bengalis and tribal people. From that period, they started raising violations of human rights and ethnic cleansing against the security forces. To end this bloody conflict, the government of Bangladesh and PCJSS signed the Chittagong Hill Tracts Accord, commonly known as the Peace Accord, on 2 December 1997. 2 months later, some members of Shanti Bahini surrendered their arms at 𝐂𝐡𝐢𝐭𝐭𝐚 Stadium. After surrendering, around 2,000 Shanti Bahini members each received 50,000 taka from the government, and over 700 were recruited to the police. Following this, PCJSS joined the country's mainstream politics. Since the Peace Accord, extensive programs have been launched to develop sectors such as education, healthcare, electricity, communication, infrastructure, and mobile networks into the region. Development activities were carried out through the Chittagong Hill Tracts Development Board and district councils. Over the past 27 years, tourism has grown significantly, benefiting both local tribal people and Bengalis financially. However, a faction of Shanti Bahini opposed the Peace Accord and revolted by waving black flags during the armed surrender ceremony. Under the leadership of Prashid Khisha, these rebels formed United People's Democratic Front, or UPDF, complicating the political dynamics in the region. Currently, there are factions within the UPDF and PCJSS, all opposing one another. Following the accord, the process of withdrawing military camps from the Chittagong Hill Tracts began. But the resulting security vacuum allowed armed activities to escalate. Later, the Kuki-Chin National Front emerged, accusing the Chakma, Marma, and Tripura communities of dominance. In recent years, these groups have emerged in frequent clashes, involving killings, illegal arms, and extortions. Disputes over the implementation of the accord persist. While past governments claim 90% implementation, PCJSS and other tribal leaders argue that several critical provisions remain unfulfilled. At the 23rd session of UN Permanent Forum in April, then Secretary of the Ministry Chittagong Hill Tracts Affairs MD Moshiur Rahman reported progress, stating that 65 of the 72 provisions had been fully implemented, 3 partially and 4 are still ongoing. Conversely, Bengali leaders claim that some provisions of the Peace Accord contradict the fundamental rights of Bengalis living in the CST. They argue that amending these provisions in the line with the Constitution would ensure and implement citizens' rights. They stress the need for an inclusive approach to establish lasting peace, considering both tribal and Bengali communities. Many tribal leaders believe the Land Commission is actively working to resolve land disputes. With sincere efforts from Hill leaders, these disputes could be resolved swiftly. They emphasize the need for cooperation from all residents and leaders to fully implement the accord, respecting the laws, traditions, and rights of all communities in CST. In response to these demands, Sudha Sindhu Kisha, former president of PCJSS MN Larma faction, stated in the media, "It is true that the government has implemented several provisions of the accord. However, genuine peace in CST is unattainable without resolving land issues, refugee problems, halting indiscriminate rehabilitation of Bengalis, and empowering administration, police forces, and district councils." Recently, the activities of Shantu Larma's PCJSS regarding the peace accord have become noticeable in Dhaka and elsewhere. Meanwhile, Prashid Kisha's UPDF, known as the rival of PCJSS, has called for unity among regional groups. Experts believe that PCJS is unlikely to respond to such a call, viewing the UPDF as an enemy. Analysts suggest that the PCJS might mobilize its supporters to pressure the implementation of the accord and maintain momentum against the UPDF. Many experts believe the accord was made with tribal communities, not indigenous peoples. Since the ILO Convention on Indigenous Identity was passed at the UN, tribal leaders have been eager to establish themselves as indigenous peoples. This demand for recognition has increased mistrust between the government and the protesting tribal communities over the CST issue. Breaking this wall of mistrust requires young tribal leaders to take the lead, gain political credibility, and build trust across communities for lasting peace.